morning, everyone. Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to the show. We are at episode 347. It is November 9th. Cruising through this year. Daylight savings is past us. We're into the dark days, and that means it's wrestling season. So stoked to be on the footsteps of the season. Really, it started, but we get dual meets coming up here now, and a lot of good stuff. And I'm excited about today's show. He's the head coach at Campbell University, Scotti Sentes. Scotti, thanks for joining us today. How you doing? Yeah, I love your energy. It looks like a beautiful day. I can see you out there at Campbell. This is what? Is this your second year as head coach? Third?
Ooh, third, going on the
third.
third now.
Okay, yeah.
Yep.
COVID throws everything off, and you get kind of lost sometimes. Um, Third year as head coach. You know, I'm sure it's a constant. You're not just doing everything you did last year, for assessing and what worked, what didn't, what can we do better. How was your preseason this year as compared to either of the last 2 years, and maybe what kind of things have you changed?
Yeah, we really shifted a lot to freestyle. We had a great freestyle season. We sent 3 guys out to Vegas. We sent 4 guys. It was during exams. 3 of them placed and qualified for the senior level world team trials. 1 of them made the finals. So first time we've had current athletes place, and first time we had a finalist. And then we had 3 guys go to the Olympic team trials. We had all of our other guys go to U23s and compete. We did well out there. So we stayed really busy in the summertime, more than usual, and had a little more success than we've had in the past, which is crazy because I'm not a freestyler. So I'm learning a lot with these guys. So Wynn's running it, and a lot of the guys that are having success in freestyle weren't big freestyle. So yeah, man, that kind of helps set us up. You know, we do a lot of training on the front side and competing on the front side, and then send them home in July, and then they don't come back until school starts. So come back a little fresh.
Sure. And what's the training been like, this semester since the guys get back on campus?
Yeah, so we start off a little slow. Mainly it's about strength and conditioning on the front side. Then in October, it's kind of like hell week a little bit. Early morning runs, early morning conditioning, really grindy. A lot of what we do is just about being in really, really good shape. And then you can wrestle and practice at a higher pace. So now we're able to train really hard on the wrestling mat because our lungs are there and we're strong.
Sure. Looking ahead, what excites you about this season the most? The totality of it. I know we'll get to Battle of the Brag, and maybe that's one thing I'm sure that's something that excites you. But looking at the bigger picture, right?
Yeah, we have a lot of young guys on our team that are hungry. We got a mix between old and young. Usually you have one or the other. And guys are excited to compete. And we're blessed this year because we have a lot of really talented teams coming to us, which is an advantage. We're going to see a lot of teams early on that we usually don't see until nationals or, 1 or 2 big events a year. We'll have Michigan, North Carolina, Virginia, Nebraska all coming here to the Creek. And that's huge to have those programs of that caliber coming to you. So it's exciting. I think our guys are excited. They're ready to go. They're ready to prove themselves. They're ready to host these teams and put on a show.
Yeah. When you're building a program as you are there, as there's so many things that go into it. There's recruiting, there's fundraising, there's marketing, there's getting people in the community excited about it. I guess we'll go with the marketing, or you're talking about bringing these schools right to the creek, to Bowie's Creek, and being excited. So there's step 1, get them there. Step 2, try to put butts in the seat. Step 3, or you're always trying to build a team to win and to beat them and to be competitive. But to the side of trying to get butts in the stands to see these great programs come to visit you guys, what kind of things do you guys do to try to spread the word?
Yeah, so this is the first year we're ever going to ticket. We've never ticketed before, so we're making that leap forward. We've really always done a great job in terms of media online, videos, posts. We're always jibber jabbing with people on our Twitter accounts. So we've done good there. Now the next step is to try to bring the community in. So up the road, you have NC State selling the house. North Carolina is doing a pretty good job, and a lot of the really good wrestling and high school wrestling in North Carolina is in that area near NC State and Raleigh and Chapel Hill. And so our goal is to to try to lure some of that down here. And we think with bringing in talented teams and having cool events is really going to at least get their foot in the door and say, okay, there's some good wrestling down here too. It's entertaining. And then we just have to do a good job once we get them here.
Sure. And we mentioned it earlier, and it's coming up in like just 2 days. Well, have you guys competed yet? Other than
We did. We were at the Battle at the River City. We wrestled 3 duels out there.
Okay. Who'd you wrestle and how'd they go?
So we wrestled Little Rock, up and coming program. They did pretty good. We beat them. Then we wrestled Iowa State. A lot of close bouts, but they pretty much very similar to the Wisconsin duel. We won 1 match, and Wisconsin won 2.
Yeah.
And then we finished out with Buffalo. We beat them 36-3.
Okay, so 2-1. Lopsided loss, but a lot of close matches. What do you take from a duel like that against Iowa State? You look at the scoreboard, maybe it's ugly, but that doesn't really tell the full picture necessarily.
Yeah, I felt great after that, honestly. I mean, it was promising because our guys were fighting. We didn't necessarily have all our hammers. We didn't have Moulton in the lineup, and you're never going to have all your weapons at once. But our guys were fighting, and they were in the fights and they were in the battles. And I think seeing how they responded to a loss against Iowa State, these close losses against some of these really talented kids they have on their team, to bounce back and wrestle a physical Buffalo team and dominate, not just win, but dominate, to me was exciting. It gets you excited for the team you have and the season to come.
Sure. And maybe talk about, you said the way they, maybe, I don't know what you were talking about, but the way when they lost, right? And I'm guessing that they weren't happy about it. But maybe talk about losing a bunch of close matches and the individuals probably not feeling good about taking these losses, but then responding and coming back and not hanging their head and letting it affect them for the next duel.
Yeah, that's important. It's culture, and again, it's the process. Our goals are our national tournament. Now, obviously these small battles along the way are important. But as long as we're battling, I'm happy. And I felt like we battled in that duel. We battled in the first duel, and regardless of outcome, we battled in the third duel. And I think for some of them, it was a learning process because some of them were a little mad they lost, and now they know they got to get a little mad before they compete. Some of them, were able to take a step back and say, okay, I got a loss now. It doesn't matter anymore, right? That wasn't so bad. Now I can go in and let loose against the next team. And again, when you're dealing with some young guys in the lineup, it's important to go in there and take your bumps and sharpen your fangs a little bit.
Sure. Battle at the Bragg, Fort Bragg. You guys are wrestling Michigan and UNC. You were telling me about it like an airplane hangar. Well, that's right. How did it come together? I feel like maybe there's a story behind this that I'd like to hear.
Yeah, so UFC Fight Pass. UFC's been trying to get involved in wrestling, and I think stalemates. Zach Boggle over there was talking with them, and they didn't realize, you don't have to pay these 2 athletes and get coverage, right? Like they do in fighting, and they see a lot of parallels between wrestling and fighting, combat sports. So there was a lot of talk there at the NCAA tournament. We got in connect with one of their writers, Walker Van Way. He writes for UFC Fight Pass, and we've been talking. And I'm always throwing around ideas, trying to be creative and have cool events. And he was saying, hey, we'd love to, film a duel and start to get into the wrestling world. Those guys are really interested in our sport. Just like I'm a casual fan for fighting, there's a lot of casual fans of wrestling that are in the fight world that we're just seeing the tip of the iceberg here. Yeah. And we threw around the idea of wrestling on Veterans Day. And then another person one of our alum threw out an idea of do it at a military base. And they love the idea of that. Having wrestling matches streamed live for the first time on UFC Fight Pass on a military base, having the athletes coming out the back of, cargo airplanes and tanks and helicopters and choppers. And so we got and connect them. We were just going to wrestle Michigan there. We were talking to North Carolina about it. I was talking with Tony Ramos, and Tony goes, we actually have a connect with somebody over there. So we were on the very bottom trying to work our way up the ladder to get on this military base, a lot of hoops and ladders to go through to try to figure that out. And North Carolina's athletic director, Vince Iali, probably screwed that name up, but he kind of got us to the top of the ladder really quick and got us in connect with one of the right guys, Lieutenant Mark Newdigate, and he expedited the process and we made it work for everybody. They're using it as a recruitment event. Right now, recruitment nationwide is down for the U.S. military, and the type of, person they want to get, the type of soldier is a student athlete. They're smart, they can handle stress, and so really they're doing recruitment for these high caliber, positions, these special op positions and Green Berets, and so they're really attacking athletes. So they're using it as a recruiting tool. So they're trying to recruit athletes. So we have our baseball team coming up on a bus. They're trying to recruit those guys to join the military, and UFC's trying to break into, the wrestling world. They love combat sports. They like wrestling. They want to get involved and help our sport grow. And we just kind of fell in the middle of it.
Yeah.
We're just happy to be there competing and have some great teams and some great publicity to go out there and put on a show.
Yeah. It sounds like a cool event. And very helpful that Ramos and maybe UNC had this connection to get you closer to the top where you can get stuff done faster. What kind of logistical, not necessarily hoops, but challenges, I guess, come into play when you're going to a military base?
Oh, there's a lot of hoops. And man, 5 months ago, we got approved for it. And then 2 weeks ago, it got denied by a 3-star general. And so, that's 2 weeks before the event. We've already publicized it. UFC's in. And so we had to make a lot of calls. I know UNC was calling. I know Lieutenant Mark Newdigate was calling. And we had to find another general, 2-star general, to reach out to the 3-star to overturn it. And it's really hard to get one of those guys to overturn a decision because they're supposed to think about everything. And this guy's up in Germany taking down sharks. And he's the one that has to sign off on it. And he said no. And we're 2 weeks out. So there's been a lot of surprises like that. A lot of the details of getting on base. How are we going to get people on base? What's the number? There's a lot of there's definitely a lot more to it than what meets the eye, but it'll be worth it in the end.
Were you given any indication of why this 3-star general said no, or what problems he saw?
Yeah, I think there's so many checks that have to go through, and hands that has to go through, and desks that's got to go through all this paperwork for people to sign off and check on. And we've been on this since March, April, this idea, working at the logistics of it. But this 3-star general didn't get it until 2 weeks before the event. And he's he's dealing with big problems, right?
Yeah,
he's in Germany dealing with big problems. And, I'm sure my understanding is his counsel looks at it and say, hey, there's only 2 weeks. It's a lot to do. I think just say no, right? Just kind of hands it off, says no. Easy to say no a little bit. Yeah. And then when he realized just how supportive Fort Bragg was in this event, and how badly they wanted it there, and a lot of the, it being a military holiday and them still wanting to do it, I think changed his mind. I think he sat down and looked at it a little deeper and said, hey, this is a really cool event that could be really good for Fort Bragg, for the military, and we need to do it.
Yeah. And to the part of maybe numbers are down across the military, and they're going to use this as an opportunity to recruit. Do you know how obviously getting people on base is a start, but are they going to be actively trying to tell people the benefits and why they should come join the military? I would assume once their athletic careers are done.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's going to be a big setup outside with the planes and the helicopters and the different programs and the visuals outside of the event. That's just right there on the runway. We're actually going to be in the middle of the air hangar at night with the lights, and so it just gets an opportunity for people to go in, have fun, see some combat, a combat sport. I think, between our duels, they'll have somebody go up there and some people in the military show they have some type of combat sector as well. They'll do some put on a little show there for the people there. But yeah, they're using it as a recruitment tool. The biggest thing is get them on base and to show the opportunities that they have. And so they're going to say, hey, you can ride this badass vehicle right here and shoot at guys. Like, I think there's a lot of athletes that want to do some of those kinds of things. And there's also, student athletes that are in IT and cybersecurity and all these things between us and North Carolina and Michigan. So they see it as a big opportunity.
Now that we're sitting here having this conversation, I don't know if you're aware of this, but when I first started working at this company in 2008, I did an MMA website. So I was like going to these small regional events around the country and filming them and putting them up on the website. And I had a connection with a guy in North Carolina who had maybe still has a fight promotion called Fight Labs. And they did I'm sitting here, I'm like, God, this sounds familiar. Now, I mean, it was 10, 12, 13, 14 years ago, but they had the same thing. They had a fight night on an Air Force base in North Carolina. It might have been, I don't know if it was Fort, but I don't remember the name of it. Crazy. But yeah, I'm like, God, does this sound so familiar?
Well, the company that they hired is called Cage Fury. So this guy named Rob Haydack, that he's the one that runs it. So UFC, what they'll do is they'll hire these production teams and they just come in, they set up. Well, he's actually done it at the military base before in Texas. He's done fights there.
Okay.
And so he really helped in this process. He's done it before. But these guys, what's really neat is I've done events before. I'm used to knowing kind of what's going on. These guys want to do everything big. They put us on a stage. They have us coming out of a plane. They paid for all this lighting. They're asking me if I knew a DJ. I was like, I don't really know any DJs, but everything they do, obviously if you decide that you want to produce combat sports, and especially something as big as the UFC and fighting, they really have big visions. And it's been fun because I don't say no.
Yeah.
So I just see how crazy it can get. Yeah, sure. You want them coming out of, helicopters, jumping out of helicopters onto the mat. I'm in. You teach them how to parachute. We'll do it. So it's been neat to just see how those guys' brains work, because they don't say no either, man. And it's always one, you get a group of them. It's just one guy comes up with an idea and then the other guy makes it a little bit crazier, out of the back of airplanes, on a stage, at night, during the fights that are going on UFC, whatever. Everything it's always taking it to another level with those guys. So I think it's great for our sport, and hopefully we get wrestling. We're going to get wrestling in front of, people that like combat sports that maybe don't know how entertaining our sport is. I think it could be really great for us as a whole.
For sure. To the matches themselves, I think you said Michigan and then UNC. Matchup wise, are there any weight classes you're looking forward to? Like, hey, this is gonna be a great match. This is a test for my guy. Let's see where he's at, or swing kind of matches, or anything in general that stands out to you.
I mean, every one of them, man. I'm not gonna lie. If I sat here and said I'm really excited about our team, I'm sitting here saying, man, we could win these duels, And I like Michigan. My brother's a Michigan grad. I know he's unfortunately probably gonna be wearing blue and yellow for the duel. He won't tell me that, but he probably will be. So for us to go have a shot at trying to take them on, and I know they're a talented team, but I also know that a lot of their, they have a lot of guys first time in the lineup. They had a lot of openings, so that provides us with an opportunity too. And then North Carolina, they're kind of like the big brother down the road. Everybody talks about the state schools here in North Carolina. Campbell, a lot of times have, in the wrestling world they know, but for the most part, they, people don't know where Campbell's from unless you're in the wrestling world now, right? So to be able to wrestle a talented in-state program like UNC, man, it's an opportunity that I'm excited about, and I think our guys are really excited about.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, no individual match. I'm excited about them all. I just think our guys I think we're talented, so we'll see.
How far is Fort Bragg from Bowie's Creek from Campbell?
About 40 minutes.
Okay. In what direction? Because I feel like UNC's not that far away, and NC State's not that far. Like Duke. How is it further away from those schools, or what direction is it from you guys?
I think it's about the same. It's like west. It's
okay.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
And you said, a lot of people don't know Campbell, right? The state schools, and that's not unusual to North Carolina, right? Most states, that's how it is. The wrestling community knows Campbell, but really, that was that the case when you showed up? Like when you
Nobody
got
knew
there?
Campbell
Yeah,
when I got here. No, I kind of got lucky, honestly. So when I came here, Campbell was like 3-14 or something. My boss at Cal Poly took another job. I was an assistant coach. Kerry reached out and I was like, man, everybody knew him. And the documentary actually on Flow just came out around that time. So I was even more educated on who Kerry was. And so I came down and checked it out, and he had a big vision, but it took a lot of faith and, joining a team that was 3-14. And then we won it the first year. My first year as an assistant, we made that jump. There was this huge investment in us from the administration, which has been amazing. Even since I took over, it's only gotten better and better. So, I mean, once we won the conference, we got an All-American. I mean, then people started talking about Campbell, right? We beat Iowa State a couple of years ago. We started having these big wins and being in these matches with these big programs. People started to realize, but yeah, Kerry was a big part of that. He's such a big name. No matter where that guy goes, people are going to look at it.
what was the getting the culture, and you mentioned that earlier, right? Like we lost, but man, the way they handled it and the word culture that you use from 3-14 to winning conference and where you are today, what does it take to not only change but maintain the kind of culture that you want?
Yeah, so I mean, when Kerry did it, he was kind of just creating this big army and just when if guys weren't getting with it, you're gone, right? And so I think that was the beginning of it, and then it was just changing the expectation to win, right? You got to expect to win, and when you see one guy get on the stand, well, if he can do it, I can do it, right? It's contagious. And so I think he just got it better and better and better. And then obviously we recruited better and better kids where, that they were already developed more. Instead of getting 5s and 6s and turning them into 7s and 8s, we started getting 7s and 8s and trying to turn them into 9s and 10s, right?
Yeah.
And so that was just over time. Some of it was success of selling our success. It became a little bit easier. Now when Kerry left, it got hard because I had to do things all over again a little bit, right? Because we lost a lot when Kerry left. A lot of guys that came here for him, and that he did a really good job of keeping a cap on that. They weren't going to get with what I was going with my culture and living right and things like that. And so kind of had to start over again. And over the next 2 years, it's gotten better and better. And now I feel like we're in a really great place.
When you first got there and you call a kid and say, "Hey, I'm Scotty Sentez at Campbell," were there some kids that were like, "Where's Campbell? What is that?"
Yeah, always. I mean, we got confused. We've had people show up that were going to Campbellsville. So I had a kid show up one time. Kerry calls me, goes, "I got this kid here. What the heck? Why are you doing this? We just got back from an event." I go, "Coach, I don't know who it is. Because you need to get down here and figure it out." So I drive back to the office. It's right after we had we were gone for 3 days for wrestling. I get there and the kid pulls up the email and it was from Campbellsville, Kentucky. The kid drove all the way down from like New York to Campbell, thinking he was that Campbell was talking to him when it was Campbellville, and so that happened a lot. People making those types of mistakes. I'm getting yelled at. I didn't know what was going on.
Why are you recruiting this kid?
Yeah, that wasn't bad actually. If we were allowed to talk to him, we probably would have. But people just didn't know. And again, the big selling point at the beginning was obviously the academics, what we were building, and then you have a guy like Kerry Cole out here, and then over time it was. It's become, we really do a good job of developing guys, and that's what it's kind of turned into.
Yeah, for sure. What are kind of the long-term vision? What are the long-term plans, goals, and visions for? Are we talking about winning an NCAA team title? Are we talking about winning a trophy, getting in the top 10? Do you guys talk like that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think realistically we could be a top 10, top 15 program, each and every year. That's what we're working towards. And we have the hammers to do it. We get better and better guys each year. We're filling those holes. And then kind of like in Edinburgh, I think we're a team that we get a senior latent team, the right team, we can come in and steal a trophy, But, I have guys that can All-American and I think can win national titles on my team right now that I look at and I say, he gets the ball rolling the right way, this kid can really, really be special. And for the most part, when my guy steps on the mat, I have utmost confidence in him. Like I mean, my guys are going to go in there and freaking give it everything they got, man, and just figure it out. And, it's fun to sit in their corner for sure.
Yeah. You mentioned battle to brag, and it is outside the box, and you're like, I'm always thinking of how we can do things differently. I know we've had a couple conversations in the past about ideas and things that you'd like to do. Are there any other outside the box crazy ideas, whether it's an event at an Air Force base or wherever that you're like, man, if we could figure out how to do this would be cool?
I think it'd be sweet to do like a carnival cruise, get like 4 teams, do a cruise, do a duel each day.
Oh,
Something like
okay.
that. I think would be pretty neat. You get all the fans on one boat, and all the wrestlers on one boat, and almost like a little mini vacation. I think something like that would be pretty neat. I mean, the outdoor thing's been done so many different times. Anything military, anything on a boat, anything with cool visuals in the background. I think where things are going in our sport right now is I really like to think about things that you could do online that look good visually. Because again, we're kind of out here in the middle of nowhere a little bit. So a lot of what we do is we attack, Twitter and Instagram and Facebook. And, a lot of our fans are from all around the country. They're not from Bowie's Creek, North Carolina. I don't have any North Carolina kids on my team. So,
That's crazy.
yeah, it's nuts, man. But yeah, I like to think about like what you can do online. I think that there's a lot more creativity that can be done that we haven't really tapped into.
When did that occur to you? Right? Because Twitter and Facebook and Instagram and even, probably even TikTok, which I'm not all that fancy to, but 10 years ago, those things were there, but they weren't as influential. And over time, they've become a bigger deal. And I think more and more programs are seeing the importance of putting effort behind your social media because it does play a big role. When did that occur to you, or when did that become such a strong thing to you?
Yeah, I mean, I've always liked media. I've just, I follow it. I'm a wrestling fan a little bit. I get on the phone with Josiah Risco at Fanco all the time. We'll talk for 45 minutes, not even about Campbell, just about ideas and wrestling and things that are going on.
Yeah.
So we've always followed it. I guess some things that we did is early on, we've had some fundraisers where you get, bonus videos and background interviews and talk, and you pay an extra fee and you get it, right? Kind of like you do with Disney Plus, and to get the extra videos, and people were paying for that. And I go, man, people just want to see more content. People are just really interested in getting to know these people better and knowing more than what everybody else can know. And so I've always
Yep.
found that really, really interesting. And the wrestling world is just crazy on social media. They're really fun. And I think we're probably one of the funnest ones online. Like I've seen what they do with football and baseball. And if a fan goes and reaches out to a football coach and says something to him, the football coach ignores it. Well, if you reach out to, a lot of these wrestling coaches, we're such a small community that those guys will rattle back, right? You reach out to Chris Bono. I mean, you're probably going to hear back from Chris Bono. And I think it just makes it really, really fun for our sport to follow as fans. And so we've always tried to push things there. When COVID hit, we did some online. We couldn't, we've always done this orange and black wrestle off outdoors. It's really big. It's during a parade. It's cool. I mean, but the outdoor thing's been done, but it's really neat. And, you see the baseball. Well, when COVID hit, we started really hitting the media and online, and we did like an online one. We found new ways to do it on Facebook and have commentary. We did it where we actually did our wrestle offs and had, split screens for our wrestle offs on Skype, where it would switch to an interview screen. And so we've always tried to kind of push the boundaries there. And it just seems that, the parents on the families, the fans, the general fan, just some wrestling, they just enjoy seeing content, and it's difficult for a lot of them to come out and see it in person. So I think they really appreciate it when somebody can package something together nicely and make it available at the click of a finger.
Clearly I couldn't agree more. I mean, content is huge. That's obviously what we do, and I think the more that the teams and programs lean into it, I think just the better it's going to be, and you're providing a better experience or more offerings for people who like Campbell, who like whatever, and to be able to dive in and see behind the scenes of the programs. I think it's pretty awesome what you guys are doing.
Thanks, man. We should get a VR one. You like walk around it with the VR set. We can get a Iowa State duel. Get to walk around and actually be a part of it. Wouldn't that be kind of sweet?
I mean, you're thinking, yeah, let me get you Mark Zuckerberg's phone number. Get you on the. I mean, we'll get wrestling in the metaverse next.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, but no, the more big ideas I think we can toss around, and the more people can start to think outside the box like that, and what can we do to open the eyes up to the audience. I kind of steer back to the wrestling talk a little bit more. You talked about preseason getting these guys like just I don't think you said Hell Week, but you said something like we push them really hard early on to get them in good shape. Do you go through, I guess, periodization, right, and peaking, and will you pull back? Some guys do it over Christmas or before or after a tournament. Like, do you look kind of map out the season like that and think, hey, we're going to have some really hard training phases here. We're going to pull back and let them recover and or compete here? Or is it more, or maybe also we'll have that plan, but adjust on the fly?
There's a little bit of both. We look at what we did the last few seasons, and obviously from my time with Kerry and what I did as an athlete, and what worked and didn't work. My first year here, we did a really great job PKing. We had guys in the round of 12 that, weren't supposed to get in the round of 12. Guys perform above their seeds, and we really did a great job peaking there. Then last year, I think we didn't do a good job. I think we did a great job of adjusting after losses. We ended up winning our conference, and then we just fizzled for the NCAA tournament. And so you look and say, okay, well, what were we doing? And I'll be honest, for us as a program, is when we take our foot off the gas pedal, when we start thinking about guys feeling good and being, not hurt or sore, that's when we haven't had success, but when we're doing a lot of live and they're a little sore, I'd rather them be sore and their blood be boiling. We've done really good with that. And we've done really good with responding to losses. 2 years ago when we wrestled Virginia Tech, similar duel as Iowa State, we've always come back stronger from a loss. Some teams might get down. Our team always seems to respond really well to falling short. And so, each year we've tried to put tougher and tougher teams on the schedule because we respond well to that. We figure things out. We look at it and say, okay, where are the technical areas that we can work on, and we've fixed it. But there are points in the season where we, do less running. We wrestle more. We're less on their legs, but I think the workload's always got to be really high.
Yeah. How did you respond?
And again, Win.
Go ahead.
What's up?
No, finish your
I said
thought.
Win runs that a little bit for us. I mean, he's a big voice, and we'll pick the whole staff's brain, but he plans really far ahead. We'll look at it. I'll tweak things. But honestly, my associate head does a great job with kind of mapping out the year. And again, there's always adjustments weekly and monthly. But we meet every Monday and go over the week. But we already have the month together, but each week we still meet at Monday as a staff and, figure out what we got to do.
Sure. I was going to ask, how did you talked about your team responding, and they responded well after losing to Iowa State, and you talked about a Virginia Tech duel, I think maybe last year. How did you as an athlete, how did you respond to losses?
Yeah, so it's different. So I wrestled because I just loved winning. I didn't hate losing at all. I was from Florida. I had never been to a Division I duel in my entire life, which is why I thought it was so cool that, Coach Bono held this thing in Jacksonville, right? I've never seen any D1. FloWrestling had just started kind of getting big. So we just started following. I didn't know anything. I was from Florida.
Yeah.
And so when I went to college, I was just loving it. I was just having fun. I was, having a lot of fun with the guys at the pool and playing volleyball and going to wrestling practices over the summer at Central Michigan. When I came there as a freshman, I had never wrestled really in the summer. I just went and showed up to competition. I didn't really train.
Yeah.
And so I was just having a good time. So for me, when I lost, I just didn't care. I was like, in my head, I was just, almost big headed, where I was like, oh, I do this and that. I beat that guy, whatever, and then I was able to move on from losses really, really easy. So I know a lot of my athletes aren't like that.
Yeah.
They're willing to work on it and break down what they need to, but they're really bothered by losses. I think the fact that I'm not bothered by their losses when they are performing and they're trying things and they're doing the right things, I think that probably helps them a little bit. And then I have guys on my staff that can kind of relate to that and talk them through a little bit.
So do you kind of take that attitude? I mean, obviously you don't like to lose, but do you still love winning way more than you hate losing as a coach?
No, I hate losing as a coach, honestly. I don't know why. I'm not going to lie about that. No, I hate losing. But again, if I can hang my hat on something, I'll hang on it. If I feel like my guys went out there and gave it their all, like, I'm never mad at an athlete for trying their best to win. I'm only really, really pissed if I have a guy go lay down and ball up. But I don't think we have those kinds of kids.
When's the last time you got really pissed at a kid for doing that? You don't have to say who it was.
Last weekend, one guy. So I guess he wasn't. Yeah, it happened last week, but he won't do it again. He's a smart kid. He just first time ever wearing the singlet, and yeah, he'll be okay.
Yeah.
But he got an earful afterwards. He got an earful. He knows what he did, and he won't do it again.
That's great. How are you changing as a coach? Right? Maybe we'll take that situation as an example. Like, how would you have handled that situation 3 years ago? Would it have been the same?
For me, it's just sometimes I would turn small problems into huge problems, and sometimes they weren't even problems, and I would just, I was always trying to fix things right away, really fast, as hard as I can, a million miles an hour.
Yeah.
And when there's nothing really there to be fixed, and I think over time you've learned to sit on it, get the whole story, not overreact, and I think that's something I've gotten better and better at. I still do some work there. That's why I have, the staff I have, I think balances me pretty good. I'm a million miles an hour, and I got a lot of guys around me that are really organized, and they don't get heated like I do.
So if anybody's going to give somebody on the team an earful, it's going to be you.
Yeah, probably me. Gonzer's a million miles an hour, and Win is very slow and methodical. And then I'm maybe I'm probably on the more of the side of Gonzer. So Win does a good job balancing us a little bit.
He's there to balance you. Talking about peaking at conference and then having a lull, or maybe not wrestling as well at nationals. Is that a thing? And I guess going to what you said before, were you trying to get them to feel good before nationals and do whatever those things you were talking about, and maybe that's could have affected the performance?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we wrestled App State. We fell short against App State in the duel, and that's a big duel for us. They're a big rival, and we don't like losing to each other, and it's a big duel. And so every time you take a loss like that, you kick your guys in the butt. That's a normal process, right? Everybody gets a little heated. You go a little harder. Then every one of our guys performed better than their seed at the SoCon tournament. We win that. We turn it around. And I'm looking, and some of that is we had one guy with a pretty serious injury on our team. Josh Heil had some big issues, so we were always kind of adjusting things for him. And I think over time we just started doing that for all our guys. Hey, let's take it a little easier on all our guys. And our guys are feeling good, but if the blood's not pumping, the confidence isn't there. And so for us, I'd rather my guys be a little banged up and be fired up and have that belief in themselves. And I think you only get that by training hard. I would rather my guys have some boo-boos and be confident. And again, I that goes back to what I learned at Central Michigan. Tom Borelli's a madman. I remember, between the MAC tournament and NCAAs, he had us running outside in our sweats after, we're drenched in sweat after a practice. He had us running outside in the snow. And if you're healthy at the end of the year, like you're ready to rock. You're pretty tough if you're part of that program. And I think, for us getting a little bit back to those roots has been helpful for our team. And I think it's going to be helpful moving forward.
Tom Borelli, he's awesome. Tom Borelli's awesome.
Yeah.
It's interesting because it's almost like it's an experiment, and it takes a full year to get the results and look over all the information, because it's like you only get to do nationals once a year, right? It's like,
Yeah.
how did we do at nationals, and what did we do leading up to it? Is that kind of how you look at it?
Yeah, absolutely. And again, I have two, honestly, when you're an athlete, you're trying to remember what you were doing when, but it's tough. And then as an assistant, I was just so focused on recruiting. And so I know some of the things that Kerry was doing and when he was doing it, but it was hard to really grasp everything. And so I have a little bit of what Kerry was doing. He did a good job of putting guys in the pool and saving bodies that way at certain parts of the year, which we still use. And then it's just looking at what we've done while we're here, and when did the guys look their best? What did it look like? Who were we wrestling? What kind of things were we working on? And you always got to reevaluate that, right? We had a really great COVID year. And then we didn't have a great ending to last year. And now we're looking at both of that and saying, okay, where were our ups? Where were our downs? Do they match in certain places based on what we were doing, or how do we need to handle that? And so I think just over time, you get more and more data. And again, I wish I did a better job of paying more attention to the times. I have some of the old calendars and stuff, but, like I said, as an athlete and as an assistant, sometimes you overlook some of those things.
Well, and you nailed it, right? You're so head down focused on your task, whether it's training and getting ready, or in your case as an assistant was like recruiting. It's like, this is what I'm doing, that you forget to kind of look side to side, maybe. Awesome, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. Well, cool, man. We're kind of getting down towards the end here, but I'm super excited for you guys in this battle at the Bragg. Is there anything else you want to get off your chest? You want to say to us? Any kind of final words before we let you move on with your day?
No, man, I really appreciate you guys having me on. If you can, get on, support wrestling, UFC Fight Pass, Battle at the Bragg, sign in. I think it's great for the sport to have, somebody with the following of UFC to be looking at our sport. So I really hope you guys can sign in, watch some great wrestling. We promise we'll get after it. And I know those other teams will too.
Awesome, man. Well, it's 2 days from now on the 11th. So looking forward to it. I'm sure it's going to be awesome. And Scotti, thanks so much for joining us today. Have a great day.
All right. You too, man. Thanks, Bader.
Right, you bet. Take care. All right, folks, that's going to do it. Scotti Sentes, head coach at Campbell University, always full of energy and ideas. We appreciate him coming on, and we'll see you guys next time. Thanks so much. Take care. Bye-bye.